Our presenters today are Rozy Park and LaTrena Artist. And I'm not even going to bother with more of a preamble than that. I'm going to go ahead and showcase them, and Rozy's going to take us away.
Thank you so much, Meredith. Really appreciate the opportunity. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our TAD Talk, where we're featuring the Jeannette Rankin Scholarship Foundation. So many of you know I'm Rozy Park, and I'm a longtime member of First Church. I'm also a board member of the Rankin Foundation and a college graduate. So there are many women who have had the same goals as I have to get their college degrees, but just had a lot of obstacles to face. The Rankin Foundation has helped some of these women who have courage, grit, and perseverance by giving them a scholarship and providing the extra support that sometimes makes the difference between completing another year in their degree program or not. The Rankin Foundation was founded in 1975 by 5 women in Athens, Georgia, home of the University of Georgia. One of them was my mother-in-law, Gail Carter Dendy, who's on the call today. One of the founding mothers, one of the other founding mothers, as they call themselves, was the personal secretary to Jeannette Rankin, the first woman who was elected to Congress from the state of Montana in 1916. Before women had the vote in 1916, she was voted into Congress. Jeannette was a peace activist, a suffragette, and advocate for women's and children's rights, among many other things. She retired to Georgia, and when she died, she had in her will that she wanted her estate sold and the proceeds to be used to help mature women workers. Thus, the Rankin Foundation was born. The scholarship fund helps women age 35 and older who are low income. In our sometimes ageist society, we believe that women older than 35 are just too old to go to school and get their college degrees. There are lots of organizations that give scholarships to young people, but not many at all that give scholarships to women age 35 plus. You'll hear more about what makes the Rankin Foundation unique among scholarship organizations in LaTrena's portion. So I'm here tonight with LaTrena Artist, a scholar of the Jeannette Rankin Foundation and a longtime staff member, and she's the program manager. She has lived experience that makes her uniquely qualified to advise and help hundreds of women through the scholarship process every year. And we do have hundreds of applicants. Before I hand it off to LaTrena, I want to grab you with some statistics about the barriers that our scholars have overcome. For example, 75% of them are single heads of household. 65% of them, of the JRF scholars, are survivors of domestic violence. 68% of them work outside the home in addition to going to school, and 56% of them are the first in their families to go to college. So these are super impressive, and it shows that these women really have grit, and one of them is LaTrena. So please take it away, LaTrena.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much, Rozy. I am super excited to be here with each of you on this evening. As Rozy has mentioned, my name is LaTrena Artist. And, you know, I always like to tell people, let's take a journey when I'm talking about what it is that I've been able to accomplish, persevere, achieve, overcome, all of the things that you can, adjectives that you can think of that you can use on tonight. I'm sure I could probably couple it into my story. I, like to start off pretty much from the beginning. I was already what you would call a statistic, even before I entered this world, because of just the fact that I was, I was born into a family of poverty. And not only that, I lived in housing projects in Athens, Georgia. And unfortunately, the statistics are, not in favor of young women and even men that live in the projects. And so even before I got to the point of completing a high school education, it was already tagged on me that I would not finish high school, let alone finish without children, not just one, but multiple children. But then the number is real slim of those that come out of the projects, but then enter over into college education. What I'll say here is that I had to take a kind of journey to get there. you know, my grandmother being reared by a grandmother who was illiterate. But when I tell you that woman gave me hope like I've never witnessed in my life, I'm like, how can you have the desire for me that I know you didn't have, you know, and but she had like this just hope for me. And one thing that I love to share is, and I always like to share this because I want to tell you this on the call tonight, don't ever underestimate the power of your words to somebody that you care for. My grandmother would tell me, she says, baby, I believe in you. Didn't really grasp it until I got a little older. But as I got older, and I was like, okay, she was telling me that she believed in me before I finished high school. She told me that before I decided I wanted to go to college. But something she told me that I held true to. She says, baby, what her belief was for me, she says, I want you to graduate high school. And for our generation at that time, that was an accomplishment. And she said she had another one for me: graduate without any kids. You know, you may be sitting here thinking like, wow, that should have been easy. But you have to understand the environment from which I came up in. But thankfully, actually the year I graduated high school in 1992, my grandmother passed away. She didn't get to witness me graduate from high school because she passed away prior to me graduating. But one of the things that I walked proudly across that high school stage was with, I did it. I finished my high school education and I did it without children. So in my mind at that time, that was just the biggest accomplishment ever in life, because I had now kind of almost I had kind of achieved what a lot of my other individuals that I grew up with, they didn't have that same testimony. But, you know, fast forward just a little bit, I went out into the working world, just went to work. But you know what? One thing that stayed and etched at me is there's greater. There's greater out there for me. I achieved my associates, and I worked with an associate's probably for about probably 15 years. And it wasn't until I unfortunately landed myself with the statistics that I didn't want to land with, and that was one of being a divorced woman. When I divorced, it was one of the most tragic times of my life, because at that time, my oldest was 5 years old and my youngest was 2.5. And it was almost like I got to reinvent myself at this point, because I couldn't really take care of them the way I wanted to take care of them, often associates. And so what the next best thing was for me to get an education. Rozy already talked about how many of us are first gen, which I fell in that category. Didn't know where to start, really didn't know where to turn. I'm grateful for individuals, though, that have been placed in my life that kind of given me a roadmap in order to be able to make that happen. But I'm telling you, it's a uphill battle every single day for one of the Jeannette Rankin Scholars. I'm telling you, one of the things that a Jeannette Rankin Scholar has to worry about that others don't. Rozy just talked to you. I don't know if she mentioned the median. I want you to grasp this. The median income of a Jeannette Rankin Scholar today is $20,000. When I entered into my college education, my income was $13,000. I had 2 children. So I want you to think about that. Just seriously, just think about, I don't know who's on this call, but I probably would say that your income is not $13,000 a year. And you're not having to try and raise 2 children off that income. And because I was brave enough to go ahead and add a college education to that. But you know what? This is where I have to plug the foundation, and so grateful for Gail, Margaret, Heather, Sue, you know, and Rita, just the founders, for coming together and deciding that the best way to utilize those $16,000 from Ms. Rankin was a scholar grant organization. When I earned the scholar grant, I was attending the University of Georgia. finishing out my bachelor's. This was just not too long ago. You're talking about 10, 11 years ago. I went back, and gonna be honest with you, I went back because I said, you know, it's other colleges I could have gone to. But because I wanted to almost prove to somebody, not only did I have the beauty, but I had the brains. And so that's why I decided I wanted to go over to the University of Georgia. I'm going to tell you, it was no easy feat, because when you think about the cost of tuition and, you know, I'm telling you, I almost quit. I did. But just, it's like almost, if you believe in hope, it was like the very moment that I said I was going to quit, I got an actual phone call from the Jeannette Rankin Foundation, the scholar director at that time. Her name was April. And she told me, she's like, LaTrena, I was giving you a call because we wanted to let you know that you've been selected as one of the recipients for this year. And I'm like, recipient for what? If you're like me, I applied for more scholar grants than I could even remember. But what was just unique, if you believe in divine moments and opportunities, I am telling you, the Jeannette Rankin Foundation provided it for me. I was in a position where I had lost my funding at that particular time. But I'm telling you, it felt like within the same hour that I was notified that I lost my funding, I got the call from the foundation. And I'm like, wait a minute, are you serious? I mean, right now, I really pray that she doesn't have ear problems, because I screamed so loud, I probably damaged her eardrums. But it was just the fact that it was an organization in Georgia. I lived in Georgia and I was from Georgia, but they knew nothing about me other than a piece of paper, which was my application. At that time, it wasn't online yet. We were still doing paper apps. Fast forward, I was able to go on, finish not only my bachelor's at the University of Georgia, there in human development and family science. I did a minor in religion. I was very aggressive, because I was like, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. I was doing my bachelor's of theology online at the same time. Within 2 weeks of each other, I was able to graduate with 2 bachelors, with 2 children at this time, being a single parent, being a divorcee, being somebody who came out of the projects and was actually told that I would never really amount to anything. All because the power of my grandmother's words. All because the hope that the Jeannette Rankin Foundation provided to me by way of a scholar grant. And so here I am now, fast forward, like I said, another 12, 13 years, I'm now able to serve as the Scholar Grant Program Director there. And I call them my sisters, because we truly have that connection and relationship of a sisterhood. Yes, I understand what you're going through. Yes, I've been there. Yes, I've done that. Yes, I have many t-shirts. But at this point, I don't want to hold on to them. What I want to do is help pull and lift another woman up. Help give her those same words of courage and hope. And just, you know, just kind of sometimes just somebody, a listening ear is what individuals need to get them through, in addition to the funds. So if you're on this call tonight, I don't know why you got on, but what I want you to know is that if you're listening to me talk about the Jeannette Rankin Foundation, the Jeannette Rankin Foundation is truly set apart. Rozy already shared with you that it's, you know, we serve women 35 plus. Going back, I don't know of any other organizations that support a woman at that age. But one thing that I'm so proud to share on tonight is she talked about a persistence rate. What is a persistence rate? A persistence rate for us is the number of the percentage of women that are either graduating and or going on to pursue a graduate degree. For our demographic, nationally, it's between 8 to 31%. But at the Jeannette Rankin Foundation, it's 87%. I mean, that just blesses me just to the fact to know that we're doing something right. What do I think we're doing right? Because I have lived, I've witnessed, and I've given this information. I mean, I've lived through it. I've been able to now come back and serve as a coach, cheerleader, whatever it is that you need me to be, I can be that for these students as they're navigating really a lot of them, the fear, I mean, really the unknown. 56 being first gen, over half of them, they don't know what they're getting themselves into, but guess what? They have enough courage to get into it. And what the foundation now can do is come back and provide support. How do we provide support outside of the Scholar Grant, which is $2,500 annually, by the way, and they can renew up to 5 years as long as they're still in pursuit and remain eligible to earn their degree. We have what we call an emergency fund. Think about it. $13,000, remember, is what I made in that year. We give them $2,500 median income. That's 10% of their income, because we know, and I call all of my sisters accountants, because how is it that you can manage to raise a family off $20,000 and make it work? You got to be an accountant. You know, you may not have a CPA, but you certainly got some skills in order to be able to make it happen. But we provide emergency funds. What happens when the $20,000 can't cover just your food needs? You know, food insecurity is at an all-time high. Our grants can cover that. What we call our grants are unrestricted, which allows the woman to be able to utilize the funds in whatever ways she best see fit, whether that's child care, whether that's food, whether that's to repair a vehicle, whether there's parking, whatever the need is, our grant can be utilized for. So what I want to say to you again on tonight, just know that this foundation is truly transforming lives through education, but it only happens by way of the innovative and creative ways that the organization now has kind of really transcended to meet the demand and the need of the women that they serve. Are we ever changing? Yes, we are. We will continue to grow. I am certain we will. This year alone, we're providing 133, well, really 35, because 2 are deferring, 135 scholar grants to women all across this United States. As a matter of fact, we're in 37 states this year alone that we're able to make an impact. Globally and nationally, over $4 million has been awarded in scholar grants. How has that happened? Because we have individuals that have decided to partner with the foundation to share of their gifts, to share of even their talents, because some of them serve by way of volunteering, and making it possible for us to reach these women all across the United States. So when you hear Jeannette Rankin, yes, think about how amazing she was and what she did just for, you know, just being the first woman elected to Congress. And of course, before the right to vote was even granted. But think about that now in 2022. There are so many women that have really been almost outcasts and don't think that there's no hope. But the Jeannette Rankin Foundation is giving these women hope every single day. So what I want to say to you is, hear me here. Hear me with your heart. Hear me with every ounce in you that understands that if you believe in education, and if education had an impact in your life, think about what it could do for somebody like me. Think about what it can do for the women across this United States. We just had a star party, and I hope some of you were on watching that live. Dr. Cole said, Dr. Jeanette Cole is one of the women that we awarded for the Shining Star Award. She says, when you educate a man, you educate a man. But when you educate a woman, you educate the nation. I believe she said that because there's so many of our women that work in service fields. They're not selfish. They're already anticipating how they can give back, not only to their families, to their communities, and ultimately to the world. So hear me when you decide to partner with us, and I believe that you will tonight, whether that be by way of gift, your financial contribution. We also, Rozy is, I mean, I call her a champion because she has jumped in and has been volunteering now as an application reader. If you like to read, I would love for you to join our team of application readers. Guess what? You can do it from wherever you are in the United States, from the comforts of your home, in your PJs with a cup of tea or coffee in your hand. And we, you know, there's a time will come up right here in March when we begin the application reading, and it goes over where you can have an opportunity to help us select the new class of scholars. Okay. And there are other ways that you can, of course, partner with us, and we can certainly talk about that in the Q&A. But what I want you to hear is hear from my heart, hear from which I came. But I'm telling you, when you provide the support, the wraparound support and the things to women, you truly help them to grow and walk and become into some amazing individuals who will certainly transform, I'm telling you, this nation. So thank you for listening on tonight. And Rozy, I think for entertaining questions now.
First, I want to show everyone a video, and get your tissues out. Wait a second. Am I sharing my screen?
Not yet.
Then I need to do that. Okay, here we go. Okay. And let me try this. Okay.
We do see your screen now.
Rozy, is the video supposed to be playing?
Oh,
Yeah, still not playing.
oh, I'm sorry.
I got it, Meredith. Did you give me sharing? I can see if it'll pull up for
I'm
me.
sharing the screen, but I'm going to stop and I'm going to start again. Share screen.
Did you
We'll
click
give
on
Rozy one last
sound
chance.
and at the bottom, you got to click on sound and share and all that good stuff at the
Share
bottom.
sound.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's here. Oh, hold on, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Get your finger out. Okay. Oh, okay. Can you see this now?
Congratulations on being one of the finalists for the Jeannette
Oh.
Rankin.
No, but we
still
can hear
can't
it.
see the screen. We can hear it.
Rozy, I'm going to go ahead and give LaTrena sharing.
Okay. Yeah, I have it
And,
pulled up. I'm ready
Okay,
to go.
sorry
Yeah.
about that.
No problem. Let me know when we have it, Meredith.
You should have it now.
I do.
And Rozy, you should stop sharing your screen.
I'm okay.
Okay. Do you guys see a black screen before I go? I want to make sure
We
you see
do.
it. Okay. Yay. Now, if I can get back over to the controls.
There it was.
Congratulations on being one of the finalists for the Jeannette Rankin Foundation Scholarship.
The fact that I'm a finalist, I'm like super excited.
I want to go ahead and tell you that you're actually a scholarship winner, Sarah.
What do you mean?
Like, you won. You win. What?
Yay! Are you serious? Oh my goodness, thank you. Wow. Wow.
I'm getting sweaty. Oh my God.
I might cry in a second.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Really?
Oh my God.
I wasn't going to cry.
You have no idea how much I really needed this.
Wow, that's a big deal. This just made sleepless nights and missing basketball games. It just made it worth it.
It's nice to have people on your side when it can be hard.
It really has been very difficult, and I'm glad because this is going to put me one step closer to doing the work that I need to do in my community, because we need it here.
Thank you. I'll work hard.
You tricked me.
This is good news for me.
Oh, I've got chill bumps. Okay, this is the highlight of my day. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm on one of those TV shows.
What? I'm so excited. It just makes me feel like I can do anything. So thank you. It's going to change my life.
What an honor. Thank you. I will make you proud. I will make you proud.
Oh, it gets me every time. Okay. Well, thank you so much, LaTrena. Really, thank you so much for your story and your experience. And I guess we'll take questions now. I did put the website, rankinfoundation.org, into the chat. And also, if anyone would like to volunteer, let me know. Patricia.
Hey, so you said you have hundreds of applications. Besides being a woman over 35, how do you decide who gets the scholarship?
Great question. So they have to express financial need. Financial need, we use the Department of Labor's Lower Living Standard Guide, where we actually and we pad it just a little bit because that number is really, really low. Another way we look at financial need, most of them, if they're Pell eligible, and if their EFC is 0. So it's multiple ways that we can look and see, but their income range is looked at based off the number of individuals in their household. So say, for instance, like for one person, the max that they can make, I think it's like 27,000. I'm totally going off memory here, so don't quote me on it. But then 2 people, that jumps up to, I want to say, almost like 40,000. And so it increases. And so depending on how many individuals that are in your household that, you're considered a caregiver for, is what we use to gauge your eligibility. Also, other eligibility criteria is that they are attending an accredited university. Unfortunately, there are schools and colleges that are not, but they do need to be attending a not-for-profit accredited college, or it could be a certificate. So I don't want to necessarily say college, because say, for instance, if they're looking to go to get a cosmetology certification or phlebotomist certification, CNA. So we award scholar grants to even individuals who are not yet ready to go to a 2-year or a 4-year university. So great question. Thank you for asking that. And I will answer the question Doug put in, how many women are awarded each year. As I shared, this year, we're at 135. We have been up to as many as 150. But of course, anytime you're doing a scholar grant, you have to work with numbers that are sustainable. Because we award renewal scholar grants each year, we have to ensure that funding is there and able to not only provide the renewals that are still yet working toward their degree, but then also being able to maintain that number. So at 135, we got to be able to maintain the number of those that will actually renew for the next academic year. So great question there as well, Doug.
Patricia, were you also interested in knowing a little bit more about there are 3 levels of application readings that take place. So there's the level 1, the most basic, and then every time there are people who are cut out and who make it to the next level. So ultimately there are 3 levels. Martha, you have a question?
Yeah, LaTrena, thank you for sharing your story. I just wondered if you found any advantages to being an older student when you started out, more maturity compared to other students, anything like that?
Yeah, I did. Great question, Martha. I became the mom for many of them, not that I wanted to, because, my focus was my education. But, sometimes I just believe that we're divinely put in places for various reasons. And then I think one thing with bringing the maturity to the room, I could engage with some of the professors in a conversation that some of the younger students could not. And so I was almost pulled on, if you would, to engage in conversation because I had, I think, a different perspective. And so I was like, to not take away from the professor because they're the expert in the room. But I do think it was a different angle and a different, I guess, flavor and vibe, as the younger people would say, that I was able to bring into the classroom with the professor and the students.
That's neat. Thanks.
Barbara.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your story. And I just was curious too. Long time ago, I was at a university and they gave out scholarships, but the individuals who received them had to be going to school full time. And if you're a single parent and you're trying to work full time because they give you no money for living expenses or caring for your children, it was set up for these students to fail. And I just I couldn't get the school to understand that. So I just wanting to confirm you're giving them this much money, but they could, if they could only do work, go to school part-time so they can work to support their family and put food on, have a housing and so on. Is that, are you realistic with what they?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Barbara, we have to be. That's one of the things that I think I brought to the table, because I think some of the things when awards are given, they do not look at the other aspects of their life. So that was one of the things that we do provide, is allowing, they do not have to be attending full time. To be honest with you, for them to be eligible to receive our grant, they can actually only take 1 3-hour credit if that's what they're choosing. Now, we don't encourage that because, however, it'll just take them a whole lot longer and we don't want them to exhaust funds. However, if that's all she's able to maintain, we would much rather she take just 1 credit, focus on that, come out with a 4.0 than trying to take 4 credits and then you're barely, passing. So I agree. That's one thing that is certainly unique within our foundation, because we don't just look at how many credit hours. We do look at the fact if she's working full time, if she's a single parent, and we're certainly understanding in the sense if she needs to defer for life, when life happens, because it's going to happen. If they need to defer, then by all means, we give them that flexibility to be able to defer, and they can come back and pick back up, and that scholar grant still be there for them.
Great. Thank you.
Jane has a question in the chat. What criterion screens an applicant in or out of contention for a scholarship?
So,
Jane, go ahead.
And then Rozy, you can give it even from, I can give from my perspective, but by you being a reader, share from that perspective, because I think you can even highlight, even from your perspective, being a reader, that in that rubric.
Yeah. I have felt the tremendous responsibility of being a reader, and I don't envy those at the higher levels, because I've stayed a level 1, and I purposely stayed a level 1 because I did not want to be responsible for because some of these stories are so compelling and you want to give everyone a scholarship. There are certainly some applications that are much, much, much better presentations. And you think, and you realize in reading them that they are better reflections of the individuals. Some of them don't tell their full story. And I always want to know more. And I think LaTrena has tried really hard to sometimes work with the scholars or the applicants to say, could you flesh this out a little bit? Because you know that there's more there to be told, more to be understood. But unfortunately, sometimes some of the applications are so compellingly written that you just can't not forward those along. So that's what I'll say about that. It's very difficult, but it's super rewarding to know and to understand the challenges that these women have faced and what they have overcome to even dare to dream about getting a college degree.
Yeah, and to add to that, we do look in the application for them to be able to really reflect by way, I guess, what their ability to persevere and what their grit is. And that's done by way of us asking them questions. They do, instead of writing a 2-pager, we ask like 4 questions for them to kind of reflect on, like, what are your greatest accomplishments? You know, what are you most proud of? How have you utilized any of obstacles that you've encountered to overcome? So we can take and weigh that. And we also ask them to submit 2 letters of recommendation. And Rozy, you know, oftentimes, sometimes the letters of recommendation can even bring out some facts about some of the applicants that the applicant may not even note in their application. When I tell you, we try and provide whatever support we can. Like right now, since our application is open, the application cycle is open. So if you know anybody that you think may be eligible to apply for it, definitely go ahead and send them over. But I do virtual applicant support hours where I get on a Zoom with applicants to ensure that they understand every aspect and component of that application. Because we want to remove any barriers that they have for being able to get in there and, you know, submit a good, you know, application. Now, we don't give examples because that wouldn't be fair because I can't give it to everybody. It would be only those that get on the virtual hours, but at least they get an opportunity to come on, ask questions. I give them, you know, suggestions, give them feedback, can even point them into the place like some areas where they can go and find some good pointers, like writing a good personal statement and things of that nature. So just know the support doesn't just start with the scholar. It starts with us as a foundation to remove any barriers and any challenges that they have, even as an applicant.
Any other questions? Fran, you have your hand up.
Yes. Do you give scholarships for graduate degrees also?
Not yet. I hope, Ms. Fran, I hope we will get there. I mean, we're still at a place that we're not able to, we don't have enough funds to award to the women at the undergrad level. But we're hopeful because that is something, because we do have several scholars that go on to complete graduate degrees, and of course the need is even greater there because there are not as many scholar grants that are there to assist. That's a great question. And hopefully one day, this is a term we like to use, is we'll have $1 bazillion and we'll be able to award those scholar grants to graduate students.
I'm sure you'll find a way to spend them.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I am sure.
Great. Any other questions? Well, all right. Well, if you do have more questions, feel free to email me and I can pass them along to LaTrena and we can get answers for you. Really appreciate your time tonight and your attention, and hope that this has been an uplifting presentation of an amazing organization that I'm proud to be associated with. And thanks again, LaTrena, for telling your story and sharing these important details.
Thank you, Rozy.
Thank you both.
again.
Sorry,
Thank you
LaTrena, I
very
didn't mean to
much.
cut you off.
You're good.
Yes, just thank you both so much for coming on here.
Thanks
Thank you. That
again
was
to
great.
you, Meredith.
Yeah, good talk.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Patricia.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.